What's up, everyone? Good morning, and welcome to Shaw Local's Bears Insider Podcast. I am Kyle Nabors, along with Sean Hammond. It's Friday, December 2nd. We are a little more than 48 hours away from Bears versus Packers at Soldier Field, Sean. And uh, I did not expect when we did this show on Monday that we would be sitting here on Friday morning, not just still with the possibility that Justin Fields would play on Sunday, but looking more and more likely that he is indeed going to be back after just missing one game.
Yeah, so he was limited in practice Wednesday, as he was all of last week, and then Thursday we get the injury report, and it says he was a full participant, which is obviously really good news. If you want Justin Fields to be playing in this game on Sunday, and if you want him back healthy, of course, I think the shoulder is probably an injury that still might be a little bit nagging, and that may be the case throughout the rest of the season, but he was at least cleared by the medical staff to go out there and fully participate. And that's a good sign. And you know what? That gives this Bears Packers matchup this week a little bit more juice. When we talked on Monday, we didn't know if either Justin Fields or Aaron Rodgers would be playing in this game. And it's trending towards both of them playing. And I think that's good for everybody who wants to just see a good game.
Uh, yeah, so there's or even just there what you just said. There's a lot to get into. Um, Starting with the injury report yesterday and seeing Justin Fields listed as a full participant, I think it caught a lot of people off guard. I know it caught myself off guard because the Bears have been very cloak and dagger about injury stuff all season long. And you just had a feeling that even if it was trending in the direction of Justin Fields playing, like I kind of assumed we would still see him on the injury report through Friday, at least keep the Packers guessing. They,
Mm-hmm.
they had that option. So the fact that they didn't yesterday just makes me, it really makes you feel like that he is indeed going to be on the field.
Well, yeah, and that's been Matt Eberflus's game plan all along with these injuries is to not tip his hand about anybody, and especially about the quarterback. We obviously went through that whole ordeal last week, which is why it is a little bit surprising to see him as a full participant. But at the same time, if they really do think that he's gonna potentially be able to play, you also need him in there for practice. You need that prep time and that game planning, and he needs to be out there all the time. And those reps with the ones are super valuable in order to get ready for a game. And so if the shoulder's good to go, there's really no reason to hold him out. I know they have the bye coming up the next week, but it's one thing if he is it is really still bothering him, and it's another if he feels good and can play.
So I guess really selfishly, really quickly, thank God Justin Fields is looking like he's going to play in this game, because I had enough of the Trevor Siemian experience on Sunday, and you know what? He actually played pretty decent in that game against the Jets, particularly in the first half. But like, it's hard, particularly when we're talking about December football here and the Bears are out of it. You want to be looking towards the future. You want to see, like, it was so much fun over the last month seeing the progression of the Bears offense. None of us, I don't think anyone wants to go back to watching more Trevor Siemian or Nathan Peterman or even Tim Boyle, who was signed off the Detroit Lions practice squad on Sunday, after this past Sunday. So, I mean, Aaron Rodgers versus Justin Fields a lot more appealing as a casual viewer than whatever other matchup we could have potentially had on Sunday.
And yeah, that's the other thing that we haven't even mentioned is Trevor Siemian has not practiced this week because of that oblique injury that he suffered pregame on Sunday. And so, on Wednesday, you're sitting there looking at it. You got limited Justin Fields. You got no Trevor Siemian. We're looking at potentially Nathan Peterman starting this game with Tim Boyle as the backup, if they were to rule out both those other two guys. And I don't think anybody needs or wants to see that at this point. You would very much rather see Justin Fields playing this game. Heck, you would rather see Trevor Siemian playing this game than either of those two guys. And that's no offense to them, but Trevor's been around, and yeah, he didn't play that bad in that first half. Obviously, things didn't go well when you look at the full game in totality, but um, you know, if you're getting Justin Fields back, that's a really good thing, and we'll have to see what the injury report says on Friday. But if he was full on Thursday, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be the case again on Friday, and he may even be going into this game with no injury designation. And I'm really curious to hear from Matt Eberflus today on Friday and what he has to say about Justin's progress.
I don't know if you've had a chance yet, Sean. Sorry to put you on the spot if you haven't, to read John Dietz's story about Justin Fields returning. You can find it right now on shawlocal.com. John, who helps out, a Daily Herald beat writer who's been helping out with our Bears coverage this fall, talking about Justin Fields in the piece and what he learned on the sidelines watching Trevor Siemian. And there was a talk talking about a play to Darrington Evans in that game where Trevor Siemian was able to quickly go through his progressions, get the ball out to Evans, who turned it into a big gain. And Fields talking about seeing that and kind of incorporating that moving forward. Just that type of talk from Justin Fields. And obviously you're around the team a lot more than I am nowadays. But like even from afar, you get a sense of Justin being the type of guy that is a quick learner, that is quickly, what's the best way to describe it? Kind of taking everything in, analyzing it, and incorporating it into his progression as a QB in the NFL.
Yeah, it's I don't think John used this quote, but Andrew Janocko, the quarterback's coach last night, used the term, Justin is a quarterback junkie, and that's exactly what that is. If you're getting excited about a check down, that's what you want in a quarterback. And as Janocko said, that's a sign of a quarterback junkie. He realizes that a play like that in that situation was a really good play. Just dump it off to the running back. And obviously Darrington Evans turned that into a really good run. I mean, that was an impressive play early in that game. You're seeing that Justin, even when he's not playing, he's still learning. He's still a second-year quarterback. That's even though he's had something of a breakout season this year, running the ball and throwing, he's had some really nice throws. You're still seeing him learning and taking in all those little details of being an NFL quarterback. And there's things he can learn from watching a guy like Trevor Siemian, who has, I think now 30 starts under his belt. And yes, you want to see Justin play, but the fact that he's still out there, he's still learning, he's still paying attention to what's going on, even when he's not in the game. That's a really good sign.
Yeah, definitely. Sean, I'm not sure. I'm going to ask the chat here. You're lagging a bit. It's kind of causing an audio thing. I'm not sure if if it's just something on my end. I want to make sure it's not my internet.
Let me know if I'm cutting out, guys.
Yeah, if so, I'll have Sean kind of restart quick, and I'll kind of go through some comments here and keep us going. So quickly, I want to get the propers out of the way. Of course, thank you everyone who is joining us live. We do this generally every Monday and Friday morning at 9:30 a.m. here. Getting ready post games, on Monday mornings, then get you ready each week. Of course, you can find all of our content at shawlocal.com. Follow us on Twitter at Bears_Insider. You can follow myself on Twitter at Kyle Nabors. You can follow Sean on Twitter at Sean_Hammond. And looking like, it doesn't seem like the chat's saying any like, okay, Sean. Cool. So should be in good shape. Let's dive in here, get into the question. Everyone who's joining us on YouTube or on Facebook, commenting, really appreciate it, guys. Helps us guide the show. If you are on YouTube, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the Shaw Local YouTube page. Helps everyone find the show for us. So let's dive in. Sean, you wrote about Alex Leatherwood yesterday. Timothy Wire says, any chance Leatherwood gets some time on the field on Sunday?
Yeah, so the other injury update, I guess, from Thursday was that Riley Reif, who sat out on Wednesday, was back in a limited capacity on Thursday. So he is trending toward playing. Now, you want to see him be a full participant on Friday before you get there. But my gut tells me that Riley Reif is probably going to start this game at right tackle. If he's getting back in practice, that's trending that direction. I do think that at some point we're going to see Alex Leatherwood. We got 5 games here down the stretch. It's that time of year where the injuries start to pile up. And you know what? If Larry Borum, who is dealing with an ankle injury, if Larry Borum isn't going to play on Sunday, I mean, Alex Leatherwood's going to have to suit up and be your backup right tackle. So there's always a chance that we could see him, you know, because of injuries ahead of him. I will say I talked to Alex yesterday. We got a story up at shawlocal.com. Go check that out. He hasn't been talking a whole lot this season. He hasn't been very vocal, but I was able to talk to him about just what these last 3 months have been like. And you know what? I think he's appreciated the time to sort of just focus on his game outside of the spotlight of being a starter and of being, you know, a first round draft pick like he was with the Raiders last year. And I think the Bears are excited to see eventually, whenever that is, to see what he has in the tank because, you know, you can spend all the time you want working on it behind the scenes. At some point, you got to see him in a game.
Yeah, it's so I get that. I do get that. I wonder, he's such an unknown at this point, right? He struggled so mightily with Vegas at two different positions last year. The Bears obviously trying to rebuild him and find a position for him. And we mentioned the possibility of Riley Reef being able to go on Sunday. I just wonder, like, obviously, and I understand why, like, fans want to see Alex Leatherwood, and I'm sure the Bears want to be able to see him on tape and get him into live action. But given the fact that Justin Fields is going out there still with the shoulder injury, even if, you know, they deem him healthy enough to play, like you don't want Justin Fields taking shots. And I'm sure we're going to get into this. I would expect that we're not seeing Justin Fields having nearly as many design runs as we saw pre-injury. But that's kind of, I would think, goes into your decision, right? Do you want a veteran like Riley Reef, who has been an above average pass blocker, typically struggles and run, positive on the pass side, though? Would you rather go with the veteran that you know what you're getting and have a little more protection for Justin Fields than the uncertainty of Alex Leatherwood?
I think we have enough of a sample size from Matt Eberflus and his staff to know that's probably what they want. You know, if this was really just about getting young players time, we would see more Velus Jones. We would see more Dominique Robinson. You know, some of those younger guys who are playing, but maybe not a lot. And so I do think, especially with Justin dealing with the shoulder injury, you're going to want to put your best five out there, even if that means playing a veteran like Riley Reef at this point. You know, there's still a chance the injury still might be bothering him. We don't know for sure. We'll find out a little bit more on Friday, and obviously we'll know more Sunday morning. But yeah, I could see them wanting to get Leatherwood some snaps this year, but it also would not surprise me if he does not play, because I think Chris Morgan, the offensive line coach, you know, he used the term, this is a full reset, and you know, they're not going to rush him out there. And given everything that Leatherwood went through with the Raiders and you know, how poorly his season went last year, and then obviously, you know, you get cut coming out of training camp. I'm sure his head was in a weird place after that, you know, mentally, and there's just no reason to rush him out unless you absolutely have to. Now, they may have to because of injuries. If he's your best right tackle or your best right guard or whatever, you're going to put him out there. And he has played both positions, both guard and tackle in practice. We did finally get that out of Eberflus this week. And so I don't know if we're going to see him, and I think the Bears are okay with being cautious with him.
I mean, everything would point to that, right? I mean, the fact that he hasn't been on the field and the offensive line hasn't exactly excelled. So it's not like they aren't looking for answers there. And I mean, this coaching staff so far hasn't really given us indications, like, you know, that they're just complete idiots and don't know what they're doing. You do get the sense that they understand, or they really do feel like this is a long-term process with Alex Leatherwood, and have the feeling that if they rush it and he suffers another setback, that they may not be able to, that might be a sunk cost at that point. And then, like I said, as I was saying earlier, you combine that with the fact that you're trying to make sure Justin Fields is healthy and not taking too many shots. It's an interesting balancing act here over the last several weeks when you factor in that Justin Fields injury. That throws a wrinkle into your plan, particularly in the offensive line. A lot of injury news overall, though. I want to get into some other stuff. We got questions coming in on both sides of the football about injuries, and yeah, that the Bears injury report this week. It doesn't seem like too long ago, Sean, that we were kind of laughing because the Bears were putting out an injury report that midway through the season that I think it was like pretty much maybe one. There was a couple days.
There was a week where they said no injuries to report.
No injury, and it was incredible because I mean it wasn't like week one. I mean we're talking like 10 weeks into the season.
It was several weeks into the season.
Yeah. But yeah,
that is no longer the case.
Certainly not the case at this point. So let's move on from what's going on the offensive line. We can get back to that, guys, and talk offensive line a little bit more, but I want to keep up with the questions. Gary Ross checking in with Pettis down and others injured. Is Bayless the number 2 this week? All right, so kind of quickly, I'll set the board for you, Sean. Obviously, Darnell Mooney out for the remainder of the season. Dante Pettis, I wouldn't say that he is down for the week. He is out with an illness. It is, he did miss practice Wednesday and Thursday.
He played through the game with this illness.
Yeah,
as well.
That's kind of odd. When they, as an illness, he played Sunday, doesn't play. Still, obviously feeling the effects of it though. 5 days later now?
Yeah.
But yeah, hadn't practiced Wednesday or Thursday. It being an illness, I mean, we got a couple days. I don't count him out for the game.
It's hard. It's hard when you miss, Wednesday and Thursday practice as in terms of just like the game prep and knowing which plays are in the playbook. But if he practices Friday, he's probably going to play.
Yeah, I would think so, considering where the Bears are at with the receivers. I don't know. Obviously, it starts with Chase Claypool. Any Bears fan tuning into this game on Sunday who's been looking for Chase Claypool to be more involved. Obviously, we saw him with 5 targets on Sunday, a couple nice catches. I mean, I would be shocked if we don't see a significant increase in his snap count, his target share. This is the game where you should see probably anywhere from 6 to 8 to maybe even 10 targets, depending on game flow for Chase Claypool.
I hesitate to go that far. I just because of the state of this Bears offense and I think Darnell Mooney only had 10 targets in one game. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's a goal, but I don't know that they're necessarily going to get there. I do think Claypool, Chase Claypool, Equanimeous St. Brown, and I would even throw Byron Pringle into that would maybe be your top 3 guys this weekend. Certainly N'Keal Harry and Velus Jones. If Dante Pettis cannot play, those 2 guys are going to dress and be active for this game. But yeah, it's kind of to me, it's really about seeing who kind of steps up in this game this first week without Darnell Mooney. And I think you obviously invested a lot in Chase Claypool and you want to see him be that guy. And I think long-term he's going to be that guy, but you still got Equanimeous St. Brown, who's playing a lot of snaps. You still got Byron Pringle, who caught a touchdown last week. And is finally seems to be getting into the flow of the offense a little bit. I don't know that this is necessarily going to be the Chase Claypool game, but you want to see that continual increase in snap count and targets.
Yeah, maybe I'm overstating it, considering that the Bears, even when fully healthy with Justin Fields, weren't throwing the ball a ton. But I just we've reached the point where I don't know. I think everyone has seen enough out of Dante Pettis, even if he was to suit up. Equanimeous St. Brown, like there's just like the targets have to go somewhere. I don't see it being either of those 2 guys, like an uptick there. You got to get Cole Kmet, you would think, back involved in the offense a little bit more. Yeah, N'Keal Harry is going to be involved, I would think, more this week, Sean, as you were kind of pointing out. It's I guess with Mooney gone, it obviously opens up a big hole in the passing game. I don't exactly know how it plays out, I guess.
I don't think any of us do, until we actually see what they have come up with. And it's important. You mentioned Cole Kmet. I think it's important not to forget him too, because he may wind up being the number 1 target in this passing attack without Darnell Mooney.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like I said, I don't know how the Bears are going to operate their offense with Justin. If indeed Justin Fields plays in this game, I can't. I can't believe it's going to look exactly like we saw, those several weeks before the injury, right?
I have a hard time believing that as well. And even if they do design a couple runs for him, I gotta think they're telling him to slide at the very first opportunity. I mean, you don't want to, especially if you see somebody coming towards that left side, his left side. You don't want to take any extra hits on that left shoulder. You never want to take hits when you're a quarterback, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're telling him to just get down, as soon as he gets into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And then heading over to the other side of the ball, we had a question in here about Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon. Both missed last game with concussions. I believe both are still listed.
They are both still
Yeah,
on the injury report. They have not returned to practice.
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, that's not a great sign.
Not. I feel like it's kind of rare for players to miss more than one game in concussion protocol.
It happens.
I mean, it certainly happened, but I when I say rare, I mean maybe rare is a strong word, but
Yeah.
more often than not, I would say a clear majority of the time, guys aren't missing more than 1 week in concussion protocol.
Yeah, and concussions are obviously different from most other injuries where they have a lot of hurdles that they have to get through in order to be cleared. Whereas, if you're dealing with a left shoulder injury, you could probably still go out there if you're feeling a little bit of pain. But the Friday injury report is a big thing to watch with those two guys with the concussions. If they're back, they're going to be cleared and they're going to be good to go. If they're not, you're looking at another game here with no Eddie Jackson, no Jaquan Brisker, no Kyler Gordon, and you got a lot of unknowns in that secondary. And we saw what the Jets were able to do against that group in that second half, and it wasn't pretty.
No, it certainly wasn't. Now, I will say this: um, the Jets defense for the questions on the offense, their defense has played really well this season. I've been impressed throughout the season. I can't say the same about the Packers defense. The Bears should have success moving the ball against Green Bay. We'll get into that a little bit more. But I do think that this game is obviously going to look a lot different than that first meeting against Green Bay from earlier this season, Sean.
Yeah, both these teams have changed a lot. I mean, the Bears are, when Justin's healthy, the Bears are doing totally different things than what they did in week 2 against the Packers. And I would love to see what a fully healthy Justin Fields can do against these guys, because I think he gives them a chance in this game. And obviously, you look at the Packers. We thought there might be some concerns, in weeks 1, weeks 2, when we got the first look at this Packers team, but that has only magnified as the losses have piled up for those guys.
It's my good friend Mike B now checking in with a stat. Supposedly, the Packers charted 22 missed tackles for their defense against the Eagles. Yeah, tackling has been an issue for Green Bay. Stopping anyone defensively has been an issue for Green Bay most of the season.
And I think a lot of people were intrigued by some of the moves they made defensively over the offseason and thought this defense would be a lot better than it is.
I worry. You know what? I worried about the Packers offense, both on the offensive line. I worried about the continued decline of Aaron Rodgers. And obviously it was a huge question mark with them losing Devontae Adams, but I thought they'd be able to make up with it with a strong ground game and a good defense. And that defense has been nothing short of a disaster.
Yeah, and you mentioned the ground game too. I mean, that Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon had a really good game against the Bears way back in week 2, and it wouldn't surprise me to see the Packers just go back to that well. Teams have been able to run the ball against the Bears. I think that will be a large part of what they're trying to do. It's a December game. I don't know that the weather forecast is all that bad, but it's cold. This is the time of year where you just kind of pack it in and run the ball. And I think the Packers might take that approach against the Bears on Sunday.
Well, yeah. I mean, Aaron Jones in that first matchup, huge game, right? It's been they've been riding him more than AJ Dillon.
They have.
Yeah, they tried. It was at the beginning of the year. It was almost they were underutilizing Aaron Jones because it seemed like they were trying to force the ball to AJ Dillon. It wasn't exactly working, and now kind of going back to the Aaron Jones, and so this Packers offense is it's so odd, and I guess I'm going to try and give a little context here. We talked about before, like um, my my thing for during football season. I like playing like daily fantasy, right?
Hmm.
Anyone who's played that before, like if you're ever on FanDuel or DraftKings, so it kind of works like a stock market. But players have different salaries. You pick them, and it was funny because I was looking at it early on, and Aaron Rodgers is the cheapest it's ever been. So what they're saying is like his stock is so far down to like play him on a site like that. And it was weird. So I was like looking through his fantasy performances and noticed he had not had like a single game over 20 fantasy points this season. But like you go into a matchup against this Bears defense that can't rush to the quarterback, is without probably three starters in the secondary, and like everything should set up for this Packers offense to really, and I see Mike B popping in here now with Justin Fields, bet the over has been the mantra for Mike over the last month or so. Like this should set up like a game where Christian Watson, who's broken out over the last several weeks, a lot of touchdowns, Alan Lazard has come on. This sets up as a game where the Packers should be able to move the ball through the air and put up a lot of points. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have very little faith in the Packers offense right now.
Let's remember that week 2 game against the Packers and think back. That was the game where Rodgers was picking on Kyler Gordon, and everybody watching that game, was onto that. The broadcast was talking about it, and everybody, Kyler Gordon was a little bit under a microscope there, and there was all that talk about, oh, a good an MVP veteran quarterback, he's going to do that against the weakest link in the secondary, and now if obviously Eddie Jackson is done for the year, he's not there. If Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker can't play, you're looking at a secondary starting Jalen Johnson, Kindle Vildor, DeAndre Houston Carson, and probably Elijah Hicks at safety, and then rookie Jalen Jones is probably your fifth guy. He's got a heck of a lot of places where he can decide to pick apart the Bears defense. I don't think Jalen Johnson is going to be anywhere near the football in this game.
There's no reason to target him or to go after him. The Bears will, or I'm sorry, the Packers will definitely stay away. So Alan done that with these two defense. Sunday's game could be a basketball score, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Like I'm really conflicted. I haven't made my pick. I got to get that in so we can get those up on the website tomorrow at shalllocal.com. But I haven't figured out how I want to go with this game because like theoretically, it should be a shootout. Like these two defenses are terrible. But like again, like I'm not sure how aggressive the Bears want to be with Justin Fields, keeping him healthy, and the Packers offense is just. I mean, it's been bad. I don't really know. Like it's not functioning correctly. How many times have we seen Aaron Rodgers standing there after a ball falls to the turf and a receiver is not anywhere near the ball, and sometimes I'm not sure if it's on him or if it's receivers. It's something isn't quite right up there in Green Bay right now.
No, it's clear that they have some issues to work out, and they're going to have to figure some things out over the offseason. I know there's been talk of whether Rodgers would want to go somewhere else, and there's all the that's a whole conversation on its own. And if Rodgers stays, then you got the whole conversation of, okay, how do we fix this? And so really, Kyle, I mean, this rivalry is kind of in a weird place. I don't know the last time both these teams were this far out of the playoff hunt when they matched up. And if Justin plays, Kyle, how confident are you that this is maybe the chance for the Bears to get over the hump and finally end this losing streak?
Oh God, I want to say that I think the Bears are going to win the game if Justin Fields plays, but I've said that now against several teams, Atlanta, Detroit,
Yep.
like the Justin Fields when playing at his potential of where it is right now at 100%, I guess, is able to cover up a lot of the deficiencies that the Bears have right now, and it's going to keep them in games that they shouldn't be. Even like as bad as the Packers have been, they clearly have more talent on paper than the Bears. But Justin Fields gets them right back into that conversation. But I guess I can't. I haven't decided if I think it's going to be a shootout or kind of just a crappy mistake-filled game on Sunday yet. But either way, I think I'm leaning towards taking the Packers.
Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of in the same boat. I was on the radio in Green Bay earlier this week, and we didn't know Justin was going to play. I took the Packers by 10 points. Obviously, Justin, if Fields is playing, I think that score is going to be closer. I think this could be a game. But there's so many unknowns with the beat up state of this Bears team. Uh, I have a hard time seeing it's going to take these receivers a little time to gel without Mooney. We don't know what that's going to look like. David Montgomery is at this point really I mean, if he were to go down with an injury too, I mean, then you're really thin at the running back spot. And obviously we just talked about all those defensive concerns in the secondary, and you're right, they're getting no pressure up front. Um, I think Justin Fields, if he plays, is gonna keep this a game. I mean, he's shown that he can single handedly keep his team in games. I just don't know if this is going to be the time when the Bears finally end this losing streak against the Packers.
So the Bears are sitting at 3-8. The Packers are at 4-9. I want to get a read in for a sponsor, but while I do that, I want the chat to give us the question here is, do you want the Bears to win this game or not? Because I would think that people are probably pretty divided on this one. So throw your comment in the chat. I want to see which way the wind's blowing here. But with that, yeah, the Shaw Locals Bears Insiders podcast is sponsored by Marengo Guns. Always buying, always paying top dollar for your guns, ammo, and military items. Come see the experts at Marengo Guns. Open 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. And Sean here, let's see what the people are saying. It's Mark just with a quick no. I'm not sure, Mark. What? So are you saying no? You don't want the Bears to win the game? I would think that is the way people should be leaning. Like it's kind of back to the Justin. You want to see Justin Fields have a really good game. You want to see the young kids that you're hoping are part of the team in the future have good games, and the Bears find a way to maybe lose this game like 31-28 or something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking towards the future, yes, but I do think that and Bears fans weigh in the comments, but I do think that when it comes to Bears Packers, people want to beat the Packers. I mean, I've heard that a lot this week, regardless of the draft pick and all that stuff, and so. I think there are still a lot of people out there, Kyle, who want to see Justin play and win this game.
Well, so they fall both to 4-9 if the Bears were to win the game. I'm not sure how that would affect the Bears draft position and the Packers draft position. But as a Bear fan here, you're seeing the end of the Aaron Rodgers era. We certainly don't know what Jordan Love is at this point. I know people were kind of talk him up after the way he came in at the end of that Eagles game, but it's a really small sample size at the end of a game that wasn't really all that competitive. I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of moved past Jordan Love. I would be shocked, like if the Packers have a top 10 pick, if they're not considering drafting a quarterback at this point again. And so I guess what I'm getting at there is like the Bears win this game. Let's say do you want the Packers higher up in the draft with a higher potential to be able to draft that quarterback of the future? I don't know.
Well, and it's really interesting too because both these teams, when you're looking at Tankathon and looking at the draft odds for next spring, both the Bears and the Packers have two of the toughest strengths of schedule out there, like at period, and so if they're tied, neither of them is going to win many tiebreakers with these other teams around the league. But you look at the schedule that the NFC North has played this year, and they've had to face the Bills and the Jets and all those teams over in the AFC East that have winning records and are doing really well, and that's going to hurt their draft position because the teams with the worst strength of schedule are going to win those tiebreakers and be a little bit higher. It wouldn't surprise me though if we wind up seeing the Bears and Packers picking right after each other in the spring.
Yeah, it's going to be really close. That's why I'm saying this game certainly is going to have a big impact on the draft order, which is not something we're used to saying with this Bears Packers matchup. More maybe for the Bears and the Packers, unfortunately for Bears fans. Mark had asked, are the Bears the favorites in this game? I actually haven't even looked. I don't know what the line is. Mike B, Mike, you still in the chat? I'm sure he is. Mike B is my resident go-to anytime it's sports betting stuff. I'm sure he knows what the line and the over/under is currently for us.
I think the Packers are favored by 3.5 or something like that.
Okay, so and here we go. Bears are
There it
plus
is.
3.5. See, it's always good to have Mike in the chat. You always are going to get the total up to 45.5. Yeah, I mean, oops, sorry. If that's the case, as Mike was saying, certainly want the over as long as the weather is looking good.
It's looking like sunny, 40 degrees, but a little bit of wind too, like the 12 to 15 mile an hour wind.
So it used to be about the Vegas line, or what they used to say is you give 3 points to the home team, right? That's changed that philosophy. It's usually now like 1.5 to 2, somewhere in that range. So what Vegas is saying is they consider the Packers to be a slight favorite in this game, even on the road. But I mean, obviously a very close game. Much closer than I think anyone would have anticipated coming into December. Most people expected the Bears to be in this position, not the Packers. I mean, I feel like a broken record here, but I really am kind of stunned to see how quickly things trailed off for the Packers.
Yeah, it's been a precipitous fall, especially for that offense. And, for much of the year, it looked like they didn't really have any answers either until these last couple of weeks. You mentioned earlier, Christian Watson has had a couple of nice games, and he had that really nice run after a catch from Jordan Love late in that game against the Eagles. I think he's finally starting to come on, and he was a rookie who was really raw, came from a small school and didn't have that FBS experience. But yeah, it's. I don't think anybody expected us to be sitting here at with these records in December, looking at Bears Packers and saying neither of these teams has a playoff shot, particularly when you're looking at the Green Bay Packers. Kyle, this is going to be Aaron Rodgers' first time back at Soldier Field since the infamous "I own you" comment. How do you feel like are Bears fans over that, or is this are they going to be a little bit extra harsh on this guy when he walks into Soldier Field?
Um, I think Bear fans are over that in terms of like I think Bears fans have been much more focused on internally what's going
What's
on with
going
the
on here?
Bears.
Yeah.
But I think it makes it easier to ignore what's happening in Green Bay or to not focus on what's happening in Green Bay because how bad the Packers have been. But I think pretty quickly once that game starts, that feeling's going to come back. Particularly, I think Bears fans, with the way things are going and the possibility of Aaron Rodgers no longer being in Green Bay, the idea of us sending Aaron Rodgers out with a loss in potentially the last game against the Bears in a Packers uniform might overwhelm those feelings of wanting to lose for those fans that are hoping for a loss.
Yeah, I mean that would be quite a moment if this is indeed Aaron Rodgers' last game here, or at least last game in a Packers uniform. There's no guarantee of that. He very well could be back next season, but that would be quite the way to send him off if the Bears can finally pick up another win against these guys. And it's funny, like we're talking to like Jalen Johnson yesterday, and some of these guys, especially now that like Eddie Jackson is hurt and Roquan's traded, and there's a lot of guys on this team who have never beaten the Packers. Jalen Johnson feels like he's been here a while. He's never beaten the Packers, and so it's just wild that it's been that long, and I think those guys want to get that hump off their backs.
Want to throw this up here from Potsy. Mark Potash checking in. The Packers likely will be the only team the Bears win a tiebreaker with in the draft order. Yeah, that's definitely true. And for as much as I'm talking about draft order right now, there is a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
When you look at Tankathon, the Bears are currently in position to be the second pick, and they have that chance. Obviously, if they lose out, and a pretty good chance. But just one win would significantly change things, and every week in the NFL. And that's kind of one thing we were talking about to get a little inside baseball here is, you've been kind of going over the Bears draft position each week when you do Bear Down Nerd Up, your weekly column looking at the numbers. Next week, we said we should start breaking that out into its own thing. But it is, every week. It's not just one game. If you're a Bears fan, there are several games to at least be scoreboard watching here.
There's implications all across the league. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of makes it entertaining. When you're at least not in a playoff hunt. You get the reverse. You're looking for bad teams to win football games to help your team in the future, which of course is even more fun when you feel like you have your quarterback in place already, like you do with Justin Fields, right?
Yeah, and really, if you're the Bears and you're, they still have the bye week, so a couple of these teams have an opportunity to catch them, so to speak, in the draft order. And really, what you're wanting is you want to see Denver, you want to see the Rams start winning some games, because that pushes those draft picks a little bit lower down the board, and that Rams one is going back to Detroit as well, so via the trade for Stafford, and so. I think Bears fans would very much like to pick ahead of their division rivals.
Allen says, after bye, Bears have Philly, Buffalo, Detroit, Minnesota on the schedule with no D. Will be 0-4. Win game this Sunday and secure your draft position after that. I certainly understand that idea on paper. I will say, though, it's the NFL.
Weird things happen.
Weird things happen. I mean, yeah,
I would call that Lions game a toss-up, and there's still the possibility that the Vikings don't have anything to play for in Week 18.
Ooh, that's very true. Yeah. I'm trying to think. There was a game. I'm trying to pull up the Buffalo Bills schedule. Like, didn't the Bills lose to someone that completely shocked me?
The
not that
Bills
long?
lost to Jacksonville last year, didn't they?
They lost to Jacksonville. I thought the.
Or are you talking this season?
This season. I'm trying to pull it up here quickly. Going through Google here. Like, I'm just trying to pull up an example of. They lost that game to Minnesota. That didn't surprise me. They lost.
No, there was another one.
There was a game they lost to the Jets earlier this season. That surprised me. And I don't think the Jets and the Bears are all that different. The Jets are much better defensively, but I would say that the Bears are better offensively than the Jets. So what I'm trying to get at there is the NFL is weird. And as long as Justin Fields is on the field, like I was saying earlier, the Bears are going to be in most games.
They have a chance to win the game. Yeah, with Justin.
Yeah, so they should go 0-4 in those games, but it can get weird. So Marka saying, do you think Rodgers will leave Green Bay? Sean, what do you think?
I love this conversation because, well, we don't really know, and it's all speculation. But
yeah,
here's what I'll say. You look at the big extension that they just gave him, and if there's one thing we've learned over the last 2 off seasons, it's that the dead cap money does not seem to matter anymore. Teams, if they want to get rid of somebody, they will find a way to make it work, whether that's just eating the money or somehow coming to an agreement with the trade partner to split the money, whatever. If the Packers and if Aaron Rodgers want to get him out of Green Bay, they will make it happen. Now, I don't know if that's what they want. I think maybe they have to, maybe I imagine they're pretty focused on this season and haven't really gotten into that conversation yet.
I at this point, I think they're probably those conversations have to be taking place. The thing is, like, I think people are jumping to the conclusion that either Aaron Rodgers is going to want out or the Packers are going to want to move on from him. But the thing is, and I thought it was very forward looking. Like, I liked the Devontae Adams trade. When you looked at where he was at in his career and where the Packers were at in their contention window, I thought it was a good idea to be able to get what they did for him at that time. The thing is, they then followed that up with a substantial contract extension for Aaron Rodgers. And I understand, like, what he's been for that franchise. But, like, you kind of felt like they were at their end of the window and they tied themselves to a quarterback financially again, or still. But as you were saying, the dead cap, teams are able to get around it more. But the fact that they were willing to give him that extension, why would they just immediately now, 100% they were ready to cut bait a year later?
Because when you look at those two moves together, it's pretty clear that the number one reason why they didn't give Devontae Adams a huge contract is because they needed room to give Aaron Rodgers his money. And so essentially it came down to picking one of those guys. And if you cut bait on Aaron Rodgers now after one season, you're left sitting there with neither of these guys. And at that point, I know it's easy to say this in retrospect, but would you rather have signed Devontae Adams to give Jordan Love a receiver like that and cut bait with Aaron Rodgers? I don't know that they're going to want to give up on this this quickly after one season. I still think that the Packers believe they can find talent to put around Aaron Rodgers as they have done in the past.
Have they really found that much talent to put around Aaron Rodgers, though? I think that's kind of been the thing, right?
Well, no, have they found a ton of talent? No, but I'm sure they are going to want to find their go-to receiver. They want to find their Devontae Adams, and obviously we know now that he covered up a lot of issues with that offense, and you're not necessarily going to find a guy who can one for one replace him. But I think they can address some of these issues in the offseason, certainly.
Yeah, and another thing with the Packers you have to wonder about is, they bring in more talent at the skill positions. The offensive line has been a bit of a struggle. David Bakhtiari, obviously coming back, he's had the injury issues. You kind of wonder about him long term at this point. Jenkins, the left guard, I believe is slated for free agency. The Packers are going to have some questions or trying to figure out that offensive line. In addition, Christian Watson has shown some growth here, but they still need to get better at the receiver position. Tight end has remained, after a really good season a couple seasons ago from Robert Tonyan, the McHenry grad, has certainly taken a step back after his ACL injury, not as involved in the offense. There's a lot of question marks with the Packers right now.
And I know I said that teams find a way to deal with this dead cap money, but this past off season, Matt Ryan and the Falcons set the record with $40 million in dead cap space after that trade. Kyle, what do you think, off the top of your head, what do you think Aaron Rodgers' dead cap money next year would be if the Packers were to trade him?
Well, the fact that you just, it was 40 million.
That is the highest of all time.
So 40 million. I would, the fact that you're saying that, I'm assuming Rodgers is in that range or maybe even above it.
I'll tell you this, it's over it.
Is it 50?
Right now it's looking, we're looking at $68 million in dead cap money.
If they trade him. So if they do that, you're saying that
66 million if you trade him before June 1st.
So, okay. So if you're doing that, then you're saying that you're rebuilding. Like next year, the Packers would be really bad.
I mean, that's over a quarter of your cap space for next season.
Yeah. Yeah.
To go towards a guy who's not on your team.
Okay.
That'd be really hard to juggle. I know I say that, in the last two off seasons, teams have found ways. The Falcons found a way with Matt Ryan. Carson Wentz contract has found ways multiple years in a row. So if they want to do it, they'll figure it out, but that's a really big number.
People joke about the Colts now with, the trade for Carson Wentz and now a trade for Matt Ryan. I know I may have mentioned even on here, I saw people joking about Jim Irsay trading for Russell Wilson, with the way things have gone in Denver and taking on that contract, but could be a Aaron Rodgers there. I know Mike B said in here, was talking about the potential trade here. If Rodgers leaves, I think it has to be through trade. Jets are a real possibility. Him saying that made me go back immediately. I think of Brett Favre on the Jets. I can't remember. Did he retire and then come back and get traded to the Jets? It's been, what was that? I think
that's how that went.
Yeah,
I think that's how that went.
It's been long enough though, but that Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform immediately made me think of Brett Favre in a Jets uniform.
I don't. Yeah, how couldn't it? I mean, that is the first thing I think of as well. And what a weird year for Brett Favre.
All right, well, we got to get going here. I actually have a hard out at 10:30. We're getting towards an hour anyway. But let's wrap it up for a few minutes, Sean. If you guys have any questions we didn't get to, throw them into the chat quickly. Sean, anything on your mind that we haven't hit on yet, though?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we've touched on the big injury news at most of these positions. The defense is still a concern. That's going to be a concern against the Packers. I'm just excited to be back at Soldier Field. It feels like the Bears haven't played at Soldier Field a whole lot the last 2 months.
Yeah, you've been on the road a ton, man.
And we'll be here through most of the season, except for that Lions game.
Yeah, four out of the final 5 games are at Soldier Field. Is the Lions game the game on Christmas Eve? Or is
that's the Bills game at home?
Okay.
The Lions game is New Year's weekend. I think it's on New Year's Day.
It's on New Year's Day.
Yeah,
that'll be a fun day of football. I haven't looked at the schedule yet, but New Year's Day is always a great time for college football, and you add in the NFL. Not sure how many. Now that I say that, like, don't the college football tends to avoid trying to go head to head with the NFL?
Yeah, I think usually they'll
move games off.
They'll push like the Rose Bowl and stuff to January 2nd.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I'll take 2 straight days of
so you get back-to-back days. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here. Thank you, everyone who joined us this morning and who joins us pretty much every time we go live. We appreciate all you guys that jump into the comments. For Sean Hammond, I am Kyle Nabors. Everyone enjoy a good weekend of football. We'll talk to you on Monday morning, breaking down Bears versus Packers. Until then, like I said, everyone have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week.